Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this interesting session together with three of us, our three CEO session this morning, a day in the life of a CEO. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dave Flynn. I'm the CEO for Blicknor Group. We're a company that's very much focused on the growth of iGaming and making sure that we take a piece within both B2C and B2B parts of the industry right now. Let me introduce the other two colleagues that we have on the call today. Tsachi Maimon from Aspire Global. Tsachi, say good morning.
Hi, David. Good morning. Hi, Robert. So I'm Tsachi. I'm the CEO of Aspire Global. And we are dealing with mainly B2B products, selling platform, games, and sport, now with the recent acquisition of BtoBet. And it's great to have you some coffee in the morning.
Thank you very much. And Robert Andersson, please introduce yourself, Robert, from Acrowd.
Yeah, morning, guys. My name's Robert. Been the CEO now of Acrowd since March. Been in this industry since 2015. So before that, held the position of CEO in NLabs, which is an iGaming operator focused in the Baltics. And before that, I was the CEO of Catena Media. So ran a few companies in this industry, and yeah.
Excellent, thank you very much. I think collectively we have almost 50 years in the iGaming business. Just thought I'd make you both feel rather old already this morning. Sorry about that.
I was smiling, and now you make me sad.
Okay, so we have just 20 minutes this morning. A few questions just to kick off. I think what everybody's probably interested in is, how do we start the day in the morning, in the day of the life of a CEO? Do you have any particular routines? I know I have mine, but I'll save mine till later. Thank you. Over to you.
So I think that is sadly enough to say, I start the morning before I hug my newborn. With looking about the numbers of yesterday. This is where my eyes goes first. Then, of course, there is a running of the morning. I used to run 3-4 times a week. And then I take my coffee. So this is the routine before I'm entering to the zone of the workday.
Hey, Robert, what about yourself?
I think that that depends. It's a selective routine in the sense that I spend my time divided in several places. So they tend to vary, but I have set routines for each and every place. So I have my family in Spain and I myself live in Malta. So whether I wake up in the morning alone or whether I wake up where the family lives or in a hotel room, they all look a little bit different, but I second Tsachi's first things first is that you tend to look on the phone, what's happened overnight business-wise, and then some news, and then get some sort of exercise in, either be it running or swimming or something like that, and then get on with the day, or actually start the work routine, which would be trying to dust off as many boring tasks as possible while you still have some sort of focus, and then get on with actually doing more forward-leaning work.
That's an important question. I mean, one of the things I always tend to do first thing in the morning is, check the numbers from the day before, make sure that everything's aligned and how it should be. Before actually starting my morning routine, and unlike yourselves where you're drinking coffee, I'm straight into the tea like a good old Englishman. Okay. And then, where possible, get on the bike, try and do an hour on the bike before going to the office or working from home, as it is at the moment. When you talk about different routines, I mean, is there a different way in which you do shift your tasks between morning towards afternoon as your attention span wavers during the day? Is there anything that our viewers can take from this?
Well, for me, it's clearly that I try and get, as I call it, administrative slash, if I'm very honest, extremely boring tasks, but still mandatory tasks out of the way as soon as possible, in order to focus on things that I enjoy more, which would be call it creative meetings or strategy meetings or talking to the staff, anything related to driving the business forward that, kind of gives you energy. Because one thing I know is that if I save the boring tasks to last, they tend to not happen. So,
and Tsachi,
it's actually the same with exercise. If I decide that I'll do my exercising after a day of work, it tends not to happen also.
Yeah, I can align with that one.
So when I calculate and plan the day, usually I start the meetings only after 11 o'clock. I want the first few hours to go over the emails to see if something is a little bit urgent and popping, maybe to do some calls to some key employees in the company to understand how the day is planned for them, to just get a grip. And I can say that I'm approaching the day with having mainly 2 or 3, like the most important things that I need to do. That I know that if the day will pass and I didn't do those 2, 3 things, so it's a wasted day. All the rest is important, but as Robert said, there are a lot of jumping tasks during the day. But if I will not complete those 2, 3, this is a wasted day. All the rest is a bonus from my perspective. So this is how I try to prioritize during the day.
Making sure that you hit at least those achievements and then you've accomplished those items. Yeah, my list normally has about 4 things on it. Actually, there may be the odd day when I don't hit all 4 for sure. But I mean, within both of your cases, the companies are mainly centrally focused in the European time zone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
if you look at least if you look at where the staff is located and the communication with the staff, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a slight challenge there from my perspective is that across Glitner Group we are approximately 140 people, and of that group, a large proportion of those are across different time zones. So in the morning, as much as one would like to focus on particular tasks, it's also very important to make sure that you keep that communication going. So I often have many calls early morning, and then also many calls late at night, and make sure that the family time comes in the middle, around the dinner time, and that's the sacred time. You've got to make sure that work-life balance is there. And how are you trying to enforce that within your routine at home?
Yeah, so when I am home, then the time when the kids get off school until basically they go to bed, I try, with the emphasis on try, which kind of doesn't succeed that often, but at least minimize the amount of time on the phone and the answer to emails until the kids go to bed, and then try and get an hour or 2 in of dusting that off before going to bed. And in previous jobs where I actually, before entering the iGaming business, I worked in the gaming business, the traditional TV. I worked for Electronic Arts, and headquarters was in San Francisco. So I had this bad habit of putting the alarm at 3 in the morning and go up and work for 2 hours so that I could hit some of that stuff that's coming in the inbox and then go to bed again, so that you could basically save a days of work and have a quicker turnover. So I think you just need to adapt to the situation. And I think, everything is always dynamic. So a day in the life of a CEO, I think, they don't tend to look the same every day either.
I totally agree. Tsachi?
I think that, if there is the time before the COVID and during the COVID, and I think that there is something, although it's pity and it's not that fun to have this COVID around us when we walk around, but I think there is something magical for the kids and family that if you work from home, you're able to be with them in the morning before they are going to school. You are able sometimes to eat lunch at home because you are at home. And if the kids are coming back from school, so you're able to be those 20-30 minutes with them when they are coming, just to receive them and then going back. So you are much more, instead of a call to them during the day. You have those 3-4 minutes with them. I find it very much beneficial for the life, family work balance, and I think that it's a good concept for the future.
And how do you both manage to enforce the same kind of culture within the workplace? Just now you've emphasized the elements that are important to yourselves from a work-life balance perspective. How do you do that in the workplace with your colleagues and team?
So, I moved to Madrid a few months ago, 3 months ago. So the coffee with the team I miss it. We had a routine coming and at 8:45, drinking the coffee in the Sicilian coffee below the office, and then again at 4 o'clock, and I miss it. So what we try to do from the beginning of the COVID is to have those coffee breaks, some of them online on Zoom. So we have all the management and some of others that are jumping into a specific time during the day and the week. And this is it. This is the name. It's a coffee break. And we try to talk about a lot of stupid things during this 10-15 minutes to try to take our mindset outside. So this is how we try to do it right now.
Yeah, I recognize that, and we try also to hold online events that are not necessarily related to work in that sense. But there is a challenge with the work from home as well, and building culture. I think, we as an industry, or many industries, was faced with the challenge of, being quite focused on building company cultures, which we still should be, but we kind of forgot to a large extent the step we went from building strong company cultures to working from home. The challenge is now to adapt, and I think we just have to adapt, because working from home won't go away. There might be a balancing out, but we need to now go from building a strong company from home. So you have that element. We switch from basically to almost ignoring company culture. It was replaced by working from home. So now we need to kind of be able to do both, and there is certainly challenges in that, as I say. And of course, at the moment, the rules are so swinging up and down, but I think going forward, we need to kind of get that mindset going that how do we build company cultures while working from home? I don't sit on any genius answers, but that's certainly a challenge that I say, because engagement levels in a Zoom call is not the same engagement level as a stand-up meeting in an auditorium or in the kitchen, where you can go through things and people have a natural dynamic discussion. Raise your hand over team meetings, and we had this morning with our company a Tuesday team meeting just to go over things. But what you get is that the interaction and discussion around certain things. We announced the letter of intent to acquire PMG, which is Matching Visions and the Vonix software, yesterday. And normally you have that kind of conversation in the kitchen. There will be a lot of hands raised, questions asked, and within a team meeting, you have one or two people potentially asking a question, but that dynamic discussion just doesn't get really flowing. And I think that's a challenge of how we work nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of some of the challenges, this industry, one of the reasons I love it so much is that no 2 days are the same. For budding C-level candidates out there, or budding CEOs, you must have some tips and tricks of how you manage the fluidity of the gaming business. Maybe you could share some of those tips and tricks, and some of the ways in which you manage the different challenges that we have every day as a CEO.
Aha, you wanted to put that on me, my friend. Thank you.
I want to take some of the notes.
That was a rugby pass, I think.
I know that.
I just keep. For me, it's about eye on the prize in terms of being able to kind of shut noise out and keep priorities straight. It can be quite challenging at times to kind of choose what to ignore, because I think that's kind of one of the key things. I think it was Steve Jobs that once said that one of the strengths of Apple is to be able to say no to good ideas and just focus on the great ideas. And I think that's certainly part of the challenge, is to keep focus.
One of the things that I learned throughout time is that there are all the time a demand for a meeting in the company, a meeting about this, a meeting about that, let's discuss about this. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves with, in a few hours in a day.
Sounds like you have too many screens in your company.
We don't have a lot. So you have 7 meetings, 6 meetings a day, and it's much more than is needed. So my suggestion, and this is what I implemented in the last 3-4 years, is to try and limit the meetings to not more than 3 hours a day. And if it's a busy day, so maybe 4 hours, because you need those 4 or 5 hours just to think, just to interfere, to allow yourself to manage also the day-to-day and not only the meetings, because if it's a back-to-back meetings, we will find ourselves jumping into things at night because we are working 24/7. So my tip is to limit it, and I know it's not easy, but it's the same concept as what Robert said, to decide where you're not participating, only 3 hours maximum a day.
Yeah. One of the, coming back to the task list that you mentioned right at the beginning there, I mean, one of the things that I normally do is to make sure that the tasks, I actually assign time to each task during the day, just so that I know that if meetings are requested, then I don't put the task to one side. So I know that I get these 3 or 4 tasks actually completed by the end of the day. So the time is blocked out in the calendar. I'm being told that we only have a couple of minutes left, actually. Time travels so quickly. One last question, I think, and that is, recently last week you just gave quarterly reports. Now, there's a lot of challenges in terms of preparing for those. Maybe you could just have a couple of words on what your focus is prior to a quarterly for those people that are in the audience that may be preparing to go public.
So from the CEO point of view is mainly to go over, from my point of view, is to go over the CEO letter. This is where I put my focus on, of course, to read the report, but to focus on the CEO letter and the presentation at the end to the investors, that it will zoom out what the main things that you want them to understand about the company. So presentation and the CEO letter, this is where I put my eyes on.
Robert, very briefly, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but that's the same. It's the core message of the report that needs to shine through. Whether of course, as Tsachi says, that usually comes through the CEO words as well as the presentation, and it's kind of building that red line through the story that should also tie together with where you're telling that the company is going in the future. So it is, call it if you want, focus on the storytelling and kind of, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, gentlemen, our time is up. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I hope the viewers at home and in the offices have enjoyed this session. I have very, very much. Thank you for your time. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.